Hey everybody, Matt from Eastwood. We're here at another live tech demo in the Eastwood garage. For anybody that hasn't watched one of these before, we want this to be as interactive as possible. So log on. I want you guys to share this, comment, like, and ask your questions. We got Scott over here. That's our lead tech. If you guys ever call in with tech questions, he's one of the guys you're going to talk to. Scott is answering questions live, anything you may have about today's broadcast, and he's going to save some of your questions and throw them back over to me, and I'm going to pause throughout the broadcast and answer any questions we may have. Anybody that's watching this, if you want a Contour SCT for yourself for free, I want you to share this, and we're going to pick one person that shares this. I'm going to give them SCT. I'm going to go out on a limb. This thing's awesome. I want somebody else to have one of these. So share this post, and we're going to pick one person that shares, and they're going to get a free Contour SCT for yourself. Get yourself going. So share it up, guys. So the Contour SCT is one of our newest products that I am really excited about. It's probably my favorite product we've come out with in quite a while. And we had a lot of good products, but this one is my favorite. Not only is it a time saver, but it just makes, it does so much with one tool that it makes life easier. I'm not a big media blasting guy. Has its place, works really well, but it has a lot of upkeep. The compressor, the noise, everything involved. It's messy. God, is it messy. I hate it. Doing it myself, it's just, sometimes it's a pain in the butt. But this tool, you could strip a car down or dress a panel up or apart really quick. Does similar work to a media blaster that previously I might have blasted a whole panel and preparing it. With using this tool, we can strip something down. So I wanted to show you guys this tool in action. I also, I monitor a lot of our social media, and I see a lot of people with the same question or the same comment over and over and over again, and I just want to address that stuff. Some of it's incorrect, some of it is correct, and I want to answer those questions, and if you have any additional ones, feel free to ask. So the SCT, the way it works, which is pretty cool, it has a drum that spins that's right in line with the handle. Now this tool, there's a similar designs that are used in industrial use that has been around for a little while. Most of those tools, if not all of those tools, they actually put this drum is more hanging off to the side of the tool. What that does is when you hit the trigger on or off, it creates a little torque load. It's also not as balanced. So if you're doing automotive work where you're working on different panels and around curves, it's nice to have it right in line with your handle so you can do nice controlled stripping or metal finishing. The other thing that's cool about this isn't some handheld toy. This thing is gear driven. It's got a 9-amp motor on it. And it's got a little bit of weight to it, which in this case is good. You want something that has a little bit of weight to it when you're stripping. It's not something that's a little tiny dinky handheld tool that's a little toy. This is a tool that's got some weight to it. Again, the gear driven part is really important. Because it's gear driven, this doesn't have a slip like you would find in a grinder or something like that. The way it's designed with the gear drive, it doesn't have a slip. What this means to you, you can really put some weight and honk down on this thing to eat through layers of body filler, paint, and rust with no problem. This thing's just going to keep working. Again, with it being electric, it's not like an air compressor where you're going to have to wait for your compressor to catch up. It's got the power. It doesn't have slip, so it's going to go in and just eat away. So what I want to do is I'm going to start off. This is just how the tool comes. It comes with one of our red conditioning pads here, or drums rather, I should say. It comes with a red drum, which is good for conditioning. So I want to show you guys, this is an old fender that I had laying around at the shop. You can see it's got some different layers of paint. It's rusting, had a big, huge dent right in here that I hammered and dollied out, and some of the paint flaked off. So I thought this was a good representation of something that you guys are running into when you're using this. So this old paint it's pretty tough, the part that's still here, and it's not going to just come off easily with a sander. So I'm going to show you guys the red conditioning pad. This one actually is pretty used. We've been using this on a bunch of different projects. So it's a little worn, but I still want to show you guys what you can expect. When you're dealing with old paint like this, using the correct drum is very important. So we're going to get Joe to come in. He's going to go to a shot here, and I'm going to really push down on this tool so you can hear it load the tool, and it's going to just keep going. So, all right, let's give you a little taste with this one here. So you let it wind up. So I'm really honking down on it. So that was just a quick pass. This tool for this kind of paint, this drum I should say, it will, as you can see, it'll take the paint off, and you got to kind of press down pretty hard. But this tool it's like trying to use 320 grit to knock down this kind of paint. If you're using a sander, you're not going to use something that is that fine. This is more made for conditioning the metal. So if you really want to save some time and get moving, what I would suggest to do is switch out to a more aggressive drum. Probably my favorite one, if you want to really get rid of material quick, is this abrasive drum we have here, this woven one. So I'll get Joe in so he can show you guys what that one looks like. So turn it a little bit. So this drum does have a little more cost than these red ones. The reason is this thing is much more aggressive. It's going to last longer when you're actually doing some heavy stripping. So again, if you're using the correct drum in the right instance, it won't be an issue. So what I like to do is I like to use this black woven one, and I like to do my heavy stripping with that quickly, and then I'll come back with this red one and I'll just do in the conditioning to give a nice brush finish at the end. So I'm going to take this drum off. We'll show you what it's like to take this off. So there's a little locking button here on the side. So we're going to lock that, find the lock. Now one thing to mention, I know it's blatantly obvious when you get the tool, but I just want to put it out there. This has an opposite thread bolt inside of here. So what we try to do, it says right there, left-hand thread with a little arrow. But I know sometimes you're in a hurry. When you get the tool, you just want to use it, and you might not look. You can damage the threads if you're not careful with that, just like anything, if you try and jam something in the wrong way. So, left-hand thread, remember that. Little Allen wrench. So we're going to pop this off, like so. Now one cool thing about this is it's keyed. So this isn't just something that's just slid on there and it's just a smooth board. It's actually keyed. So I'm going to try and take this off without dropping the keys here. So is that good for you? I'm just trying not to drop these keys out of here, but you can see it's keyed. It's got two of those keys in there. And that's another reason. This is more of an industrial type setup. Because this is keyed like that, you don't have plastic pieces in here that are going to shear. These are actually keyed like you would see on an engine or something, automotive application. So that's keyed. We're going to put these back on. Slide that guy back on. Again, opposite thread. Keep reminding yourself that. Opposite thread, opposite thread. So I will show you this one in action. I'll do another little section real quick. So you let the tool wind up. This does have a speed setting on here. So there's you can go from a 1 all the way up to a 6. I'm trying to really rip through this, so I'm going to go to a 6. Let it wind up, and we'll start. Let me check this. On my talking, I want to make sure that it's nice and tight. All right. So we're going to let it wind up. want to show real quick, question we always get all the time. This is going to warp metal, it's too hot. It's about as hot as your car gets when it sits in the summer in the parking lot outside your work. That's how hot it gets. It's not enough of a temperature change to actually change the makeup of the metal to make it change and stretch or shrink metal, or shrink in this case if you were getting it too hot. So this is not that hot. The key is, like anything, if you abuse the tool or you abuse the metal, yeah, you could warp it, but you could do that with a DA sander. You could do it with anything if you sit in one spot too long. So as you noticed, I was hitting spots, taking metal off, and I started working my way up to here. You don't want to just sit in the same spot and try and take the metal or the paint off or the rust really quick, or I'm sorry, sit in one spot and just let the tool work for too long, because of course you can warp metal. I mean, you can do that with anything. If you sit there with your hand and move it fast enough with sandpaper, you can warp metal. Use common sense. Keep the tool moving as you go down and start stripping. So what I'll do is, like I showed here, I started getting to see bare metal in here, but I knew I worked this area a little bit. So I started moving myself up into here, and you can see it starting to strip up into here, and then I'll start coming back into this area again and clean some of that up and keep moving. So you can do it that way. If you just sit in one spot, it's bad. It's going to warp the metal if you sit in one spot, but you got to try pretty hard. You got to be really leaning. But I was leaning pretty hard on that, and you can see, I mean, it's no hotter than, like I said, a car sitting outside during the summer. Any questions before I switch?
Most of them you've answered so far. With the heat one, they have a lot of them. Want to see how it heated up the panel. But Jeff asked, how does it handle old body filler?
So Jeff asked, which is a common question we get, how does it handle old body filler? What I would do with the old body filler, you either use this woven one here, or you can use, we have an expander wheel here with a sandpaper drum or sleeve that goes on it. If you put the 80 grit on that with the expander wheel, or use the woven, the two of those, it will eat right through the body filler, and it'll work. Now you do have to lean into it, like you could hear I was doing. I was kind of leaning into it. You can lean into it. So because it's got the body filler, you're not really getting right in on the metal directly. You can lean into it a little harder and kind of go slow and let it just eat it off. If you guys want to see some good representations of this in use, check out our Instagram page. Username's Eastwood Co. We have a couple short little clips that we've had some shops use this as we were preparing to launch this, and we let them use and abuse it. There's a good shot of Sean at Empire Fab. He has one of his guys and him stripping some real heavy Bondo on the side of a car or side of a truck bed, and you can really see how it eats through that. Makes a mess, as anything does, but it will eat through it. You just got to hammer down on it, and it will eat right through it. So I would use one of these two drums. This comes in, you can get this in 80, but you can progressively go to a different grit if you want to get a smoother finish, depending on what you're doing. So that's a good question. Another question we get all the time is, how long do these last? That's like saying, how long does your sandpaper last on your DA? There's how many variables that could cause that. If you catch an edge, that is the number one thing that will eat these guys up. This one here, I don't got a straight edge, but I don't know if you guys will be able to see with here. Or actually, let me turn it a little bit. You can actually see that this has got a curve to it. So we were using this on another panel where we were working in an area where it actually put a little bit of concave area in it. That's because we were working the same area really hard in the center. So it'll wear the pad in a manner in which you're using it, just like you would expect, because it's constantly wearing that area. What you can do, and I will say, is you can wear this sucker all the way down to the glue, the bonding material that we use for these. I mean, you can wear this thing will wear all the way down to there. So this isn't like sandpaper where you use a little bit and then it's worn out. This thing will keep going. It's got the same woven abrasive material all the way through, so you can wear this sucker down all the way to the center and it'll keep working. Now if you have something that's a flat panel and we were previously using this, like this one has a curve here in the center, and I knew I wanted to work a dead flat panel, well, this probably isn't the one I want to use. And that's why in here, it was working well right in this center section, but if this, because this has the same kind of curve to it, because we were doing this on a similar type panel. But if we were using this on something that was dead flat, well, it's going to only hit here and here on the outside edge, and it's not going to strip in the center unless you push real hard and dig in, which you don't want to do, obviously, or you turn it on edge. So get a fresh one. Keep this one aside for something else. It's good to have a handful of these on hand. One thing that can kill these really, really quick, and you guys know this with a cutoff grinder, a flap disc, the cookies, as you will call them, little round abrasive discs for your die grinder, your angle grinder. If you catch one of these sharp edges in here, like this, if I catch this edge on the top here that's ripped a little bit, it's going to eat this thing for dinner. It's going to rip it up. I mean, it's going to happen to anything. That's what's going to kill these fast. If you use this on a panel and you're careful to stay away from the edge, or let the tool actually work off of the edge, like this, where you're coming off of the edge, rather, if we were working this edge here, we'd let it come off of the edge. If we're going like this and we dig in, well, man, it's going to eat a line right in that real fast. So try and remember how you're doing it. If you can work it off the edge, you won't have a problem. But if you let it dig in, if you come at an angle like this, well, it's going to just eat the tool up real quick. So you don't do that. I mean, these are things that are going to kill this. I don't care what type of abrasive or tool you're using. Catching a sharp edge on the metal, it's gonna hurt the abrasive disc, drum, whatever. It's gonna make it die a lot quicker, and you don't want that to happen. So the black woven one, like I mentioned, I will we'll go a little bit more on here for you guys so you can see. I'm going to push down a little more, and we'll start working this section here. This is old lacquer paint, and this stuff does not like to come off. So you got to really kind of honk down on this to get it through. You know what? Maybe I'll hit this little area here so we can get some of the rust off. Show that. Any other questions as we're good? Anybody that's just watching? I mentioned in the beginning, I'm feeling generous. We're giving one of these guys away. So if you want one of these SCTs, I'm going to give one away. All you have to do is share this post. So even if you're watching this and we're live right now, but if it's recorded, I'm going to give you guys till tomorrow at noon, and I'm going to pick a winner. So share this thing up, send it to your friends so they can see what this tool is all about, and then we're going to pick one of you guys that shared this and give you one of these tools for free. So I'm going to use this a little more in this area here. And so I got this on a fender stand. A good little trick if you're ever doing anything like this, our panel beater bags that we sell that are for hammering and shaping metal, they also work great as using the bags for weight when you're working on something by yourself. I'm constantly working by myself in my home shop, so I got to use these suckers all the time to hold a fender in place so it doesn't bounce around. In this case, we're using it just to balance so I can put some weight into this. Doesn't hurt to have a handful of those around and use them for this type of use. Let this go up. So you can see how quick the rust, it just pulls it right off. Now I wasn't pushing real hard that time because I don't want to knock this fender stand over. But you can see with this drum, you can really quickly take off that rust. No problem. So I want to show you guys how it works on that. And then it was already starting to bite into, we got a few layers of paint here, or primer. That might even be the red oxide primer there. So we're getting into that. So you can see real quick how that works. And I'll put the expander wheel on here to let you guys see how that works. Now one thing to note about the expander wheel, well actually I got two things. The expander wheel, it is reusable. So the actual expander wheel itself is a little higher priced for what it is. You may think that it's a higher price, but remember, this guy is reusable and the sleeves are dirt cheap. So this guy is the expander wheel. It has this rubber wheel with these cutouts in here. And what that does is when this thing spins up, because it has those cutouts, it allows it to actually expand, like it sounds like, and it grips this drum and holds it in place so it doesn't slip. What will kill this really quick, and I don't want you guys yelling at me because I'm going to tell you that this thing's faulty. This has arrows on it. Expander wheel needs to work in a certain direction. So we got little arrows on there. Again, like the left-hand thread, because I'm a dummy and would do this if I didn't have these arrows myself. You need to make sure that you put this on in a manner in which it's going in the direction that the tool spins. And if you look, our tool right here, the little arrow as well. So when you're putting this on, make sure you do that. What'll happen? Well, we got to actually turn around. So there, like that. So what'll happen if you do this? It will actually make the bonding between the rubber and the metal center section will separate. Because it's not meant to work in that manner, it will actually separate the two of them by doing that. It can make this separate, and then your rubber drum will start separating from the axle, not the axle, but the center hub section. So don't do that. And Scott, if you get any questions, feel free to.
Yeah, one of the questions we had is, would it work on fiberglass?
So really great question. Somebody asked if the SCT will work on fiberglass. This tool will work on fiberglass. It actually works, it'll work on any material. The thing you have to remember is this tool is very powerful. It's made to strip off layers of paint, Bondo, some heavy stuff. You can damage fiberglass, again, it's common sense, if you push too hard. You don't want to break through that, if possible, you don't want to break through that gel coat. So make sure, I would start using, depending what you're using, use the conditioning pad, and you can go over it. You can also use the expander wheel with like a 320 or 220 and go over it with that, but with light pressure. Be very careful. Just like a grinder, same thing can happen. If you push too hard, you can get through the gel coat and cause a problem. But this will work just the same, fiberglass. It works on wood. If you got wood, like a wood deck or something like that, you can strip the planks with this, which is pretty cool because it covers a nice wide area. The other day, we used it on a wood stump for metal shaping. We were carving out a stump and rounding the edges and surfacing the top. It worked awesome for that. So there's a lot of uses you can use. It just depends on the material that you're using it on, the pressure that you're going to use. So our wheel's going down. I want to make sure that my arrow's going right so you guys don't laugh at me on camera. You can anyways, but arrow going the right way. Slide that guy on. All right. Opposite thread. Tighten that down. Share this post. Get a free SCT potentially if you share this post. So let me show you again on the top here. Let it wind up. Nice thing about the expander wheel is it creates even less heat than the other ones. And you can touch that right away. I mean, that's not even remotely hot. And I was pressing down. You can see as soon as I started pressing down pretty hard, this thing started eating away. So this is a nice alternative. The only thing that will happen that I like on the black drum a little better, this is a good representation here. If you're using the sandpaper, you come across the same thing when you're using a traditional DA sander or something like that, or an inline sander. If we're hitting the same area, it starts to build up and can fill up the pores of the sandpaper. Now don't throw this away. That can be cleaned off. If you really want to, you can clean that off and keep working. But it can clog the sandpaper. So you got to figure out depending on the paint you're working with or the filler that you're working with, you can choose a drum that works accordingly. This one is going to work really well for taking the paint off fast, but if you press down too hard, it could clog the drum like this, and you have to stop and clean it all out. So I would like to start, depending on what it is, but I like using this to take off real fast. And like I did, I'll start working again. You can start working an area, stripping, and then coming back to that area if you're worried about the heat. That's why you always keep moving with it. And that's the key to doing that. Any other questions as we're going?
We're up to date right now.
Sweet.
Keep cruising.
So that's the SCT. That's a little bit of what it can do on these sections here. I'm going to change this over and put a drum on this. And the section that we hit with the black, the rough black abrasive drum, I'm going to put a fresh one of these on. And then I'm going to hit that real quick. And then we'll show you what the finish looks like, the finished product, if you on the section that we stripped with the more abrasive drums. I'll show you what it looks like so you can see what the final finished looks like. So we're going to pop this guy off like so. Try not to turn my back to you guys. Put this fairly fresh wheel right on here. Don't forget, share this post tomorrow at noon Eastern Standard Time. I'm going to pick one winner out of everybody that shared this post. I'm going to pick one person. You're going to get a free SCT to have in your shop. So I'm going to turn the speed down a little bit here on this, and I'm just going to do a nice slow pass over this to just get a nice even finish on it. So turn the speed down. I was just kind of working around. Not hot. I mean, it's warm, but it's not hot. So Joe can jump in here and just show you, hopefully we can get a kind of a surface level shot with some camera magic here. And you guys can see the finish that it gave. So you guys probably saw, or maybe you could see, when I was doing it with the black woven drum with the expander wheel, I wasn't focused on getting it perfectly clean with either of those. What I was trying to do is I was trying to quickly break through and get the majority of that paint off with those two tools. And then what I did was when I came back here with the surface conditioning one, any of these little bit of pieces that were left over that maybe I missed, this thing ripped right through them. It just took them off. So you don't have to fight super hard with these tools to get every last little tiny bit off with it. You can come back with the surface conditioning and do a pass, and it'll take off those pieces. And you can get a nice clean surface. So this was all dotted with paint. As soon as I came back with this on a slower speed, gave it a nice brushed finish, and this is ready. I mean, if you prep saw this, wiped it down, this thing you can start laying primer on it or do your body filler. So it's great for conditioning metal. This is what I like to use after I weld a patch in or do something like that or make a whole new panel. After I'm happy with everything, I'll hit it with this tool, give it a nice clean surface condition, and then I'll apply a protectant to the metal so that it doesn't flash rust like our fast etch. And then when I'm ready to paint it, strip off the fast etch, prime it, and keep going. So that's the SCT. Thing is awesome. I love it. I want you guys to use it, love it. It's going to change the way you strip and condition metal. So that's all I got today. Do we have any other questions?
One last question is, what does it do to a lead panel?
The question was, what does it do to a lead panel? Well, I'm assuming that they mean a lead seam, not a whole entire lead panel. I would hope, well, I guess depending on the car, if it's from the right era, it could be a whole panel that's leaded. It can work that, but it's, remember the lead is more closely related to the metal than it is like paint or body fill, modern body fillers. So it will condition it, but it's not going to like eat it out. The other thing is you don't want to be using this tool to eat away or dig out lead. You don't want to be doing that. What's that do? It's putting lead into the air. You're breathing it in. You're exposed to it. Not good for you. What I suggest to do if you have a panel that's leaded, whether it's a whole panel or it's a seam, get out your oxyacetylene torch and just start teasing it with the torch, and you can actually melt that lead away. You can just melt it away. Heat is the best way to take lead off of a panel. Use your torch, heat it back up, it'll reflow, and you actually melt it right off the panel. Once 99% of the lead is off, sure, grab this tool, go over it, and smooth it all out. But I don't really suggest on a panel that has real lead to use any type of abrasive tool on it, because it's putting lead into the air that you're breathing, which really isn't great for you. So it's better to use a file to knock down lead, where it's going to put shavings, or if you're trying to take the lead completely off a panel, use your torch. But this guy will work good otherwise, but I don't want to, that's a safety concern. I don't want to tell you guys to use this tool on lead. So good one though, that's a new one. So if you guys have any other questions, feel free to drop them in the comments. Again, one last time, if you want an SCT for yourself for free, share this post, get the word out about this tool. We want everybody to learn about it. There's a million uses for it. If you have one of these tools already, start hashtagging. We're starting to put posts about this tool and a lot of our tools. If you go to our SCT page on Eastwood.com, you will see we got a cool little social bar there. We're pulling in photos off of Instagram, our favorite photos of people that use hashtags, whether it's TIG200. In this case, hashtag Contour SCT, all one word. And if we think it's a cool photo or it's a good representation of the tool, we're gonna put that photo up. We're gonna send you a request. As long as you approve it, we're gonna put that request up on the website and feature what you're doing with the SCT. We love seeing what you guys are doing and all the great projects you guys got going with it. So thanks for watching. I'm Matt. If you guys have any ideas for future posts, make sure you let us know. I'll catch you guys later.